name is Armando Ubeda, and I'm a Florida Sea Grant agent. I get to work with a lot of different stakeholders, which is very rewarding for me to be able to get involved with my community at many different levels.
The Natural Resources Leadership Institute, or NRLI, is a conflict management training program for natural resource professionals in the state of Florida. The NRLI program is designed as an 8-month program. I think the key to the design, though, is it's experiential, which means that the fellows learn by immersing themselves in the issue through conversations with expert speakers, with stakeholders, and with a field trip. We meet once a month for 2 days. We learn about various conflicts around the state, and then we learn about concepts, skills, and tools that can help address those conflicts. Sea Grant has been involved with NRLI from its inception. NRLI alum in Florida Sea Grant design the classes and identify conflict cases and bring them to us so we can study the coastal systems.
One of the main things that we learn is to facilitate, and this is very useful in my programs, in my career, because I deal with issues that actually need the input from many multiple stakeholders.
One of the very neat things that Armando did that NRLI has been working on is working on a practicum around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
The other people in my group, for my practicum, I had somebody from Audubon. There was another person from Nature Conservancy. We have a representative FWC, which is the Fishery and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And we have somebody from Winter Haven, the city of Winter Haven. And to be successful to address some of these natural resource issues, you really need to diversify the people involved.
NRLI, like a lot of natural resource agencies, is facing how we better engage diverse audiences in natural resource issues. And Armando's team of people, including him, were one of the first NRLI fellow groups that actually approached that head on. They did focus groups to determine what are the barriers to diverse individuals entering natural resource professions. And we think that that sort of idea is part of the future of NRLI. The vast majority of alumni that we have are actually land-based natural resources professionals, so the Florida Sea Grant agents bring a fresh perspective of coastal issues to each class.
I highly recommend NRLI for other faculty or other people in other agencies.
As an NRLI alum, you would be part of an alumni network that is now 400 strong, representative of every state agency that touches natural resources, as well as multiple county and city governments, nonprofits, and private industry. This network will be a connection to you throughout your entire professional career that you can reach out to for camaraderie or assistance in your work.